So languages change over time. We all know that already. And we can see really fascinating evidence of that or such changes by reading literature from a few hundred years ago or even watching TV shows from a few decades ago. And the Korean language is no exception when it comes to languages changing and evolving over time due to various external influences and the needs of the society. But instead of focusing on how the Korean language has changed so far, I want to try and think about how it will change in the future going forward. And no one can predict the future for sure. So these are just my personal thoughts, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments too. And by the way, you're watching Talk to Me in Korean, and I am Hyunwoo. So what kind of changes can we expect to see in the Korean language in, say, 30 years or 50 years' time? Most of the changes I can imagine are basically different forms of simplification. So first of all, we'll see simplification of grammar rules. Particles will be dropped even more frequently than now for more efficiency, and more abbreviated words will be used, and people will often not even know anymore what the original expressions were, which is probably also happening to all languages around the world right now. Maybe it might be good news for new learners. And if grammar rules are going to become simpler, what about the casual language, polite language distinction? Will that also go away? And that's actually the second change I want to talk about. I personally think that it's highly unlikely that the 반말, 존댓말, casual language, formal language distinction will disappear completely. The line between informal casual language and formal polite language might become a little more blurry, and people will kind of go back and forth over the line more freely, but I think the line will still be there. And people becoming more flexible, I think, is already happening to a degree with many people using cases of 반존대. 반존대 is mixing 반말 and 존댓말 in one breath or in one paragraph. And many people use the word 나 for I in a polite sentence ending in so-and-so 해요 instead of 저 for I. You know, 저 is more polite, formal, and 나 is more casual. And even within the boundaries of 존댓말, I think the way people speak will become much more casual, and the highest forms of honorifics and politeness levels will only be found in literature or specific types of document. And for a similar reason, people will also speak 반말 with a wider range of people, or 반말 to a wider range of people instead of just people who are younger than them or of the same age as them. And there's actually already a politer version of 반말, which is called 평어, 반말, 평어. They are not exactly the same. So 평어 is, or it can be translated to equal language. It's almost the same as 반말, but you don't talk down at someone like you often do in 반말 when you say stuff like 야, 뭐 하냐? Or 빨리 해라 in 반말 when you're talking down at other people using those phrases. Whereas in 평어, you also don't address the other person by their title like 부장님, 사장님, 팀장님, or 대표님, but just by their name. 현우는, 승환은, like that. So some teams and organizations are doing this at least as an experiment these days, and there are many Korean social media channels and newsletters that only use 평어. So all in all, 반말 and 존댓말, the distinction between the two will always be there because it's necessary, but we'll see a lot of simplification in this area too. And I think because 반말 and 존댓말 are going to become more simple and flexible, you won't be able to use certain formal language expressions to kind of automatically sound more polite or considerate or kind. You know, there are some phrases that you can use without actually meaning it at heart, but you use them and you sound automatically more polite. You won't be able to use them anymore because the language itself will become simpler. People will have less linguistic formality to rely on. So Korean speakers of the future, whether they are native speakers or learners, will have to have better manners, thoughtfulness, and considerateness to actually really sound nice or likable when they speak or write, I think. And the third change I think will happen is regional dialects will disappear or at least become weaker. There are many popular content creators now who make fun, short-form content about regional Korean dialects, but overall, more and more children will grow up under media influence where people mostly speak in standard Korean or with the Seoul accent, and the vast majority of jobs and cultural activities that are highly sought after by young people are found in or around the Seoul, the general Seoul area. So without some major decentralization, I think dialects will become weaker and might eventually almost disappear. I think, I might be wrong. And lastly, we'll see a lot of pronunciation and spelling changes, all in the direction of becoming simpler and easier. Most of the long vowel, short vowel distinction will disappear in a few decades, I think, because people are already quite bad at it now, not being able to tell nun from nun or to pronounce 강도 and 강도 differently. As a Korean language instructor, educator, I am personally very strict about spelling and pronunciation rules, including long and short vowels and the proper politeness levels that you need to use and all that. And those are still important today, but in the very long run, maybe in 50 years or so, I think these rules will lose quite a bit of power. So that is how I think the Korean language will change. My projections might turn out to be correct or maybe all wrong, but either way, it'll be really interesting to see. And what will this kind of change mean to learners of this language? What do you think? I think it'll make certain aspects easier to learn because there will be slightly fewer rules to abide by, but learning might become more difficult in some other ways because you will have to rely more on contexts and hidden intended meanings because basically sentences will be shorter and there will be less, I guess, elements that are clearly visible. But all in all, I think the total sum of efforts that need to go into learning an entirely new foreign language will pretty much stay the same. So I think it's important to continue studying hard and practicing a lot. That's the key takeaway from this video, perhaps. And also, I am curious, what are some examples of gradual changes in some other languages that you speak that you have personally found to be interesting or perhaps annoying? Share your thoughts and observations in the comments. And as always, I'll be waiting for you at our website at talktomeinkorean.com with all of our systematic and effective Korean learning materials to help you learn this language. See you there. Talk to Me in Korean 웹사이트에서 만나요. 감사합니다. Bye.